Welcome and what is happening? Welcome to your Vape at 5. I am your host. This guy, I'm BlackCat. What's happening, everybody? Well, today, it's Wednesday, and you know what we do here on Wednesday. Wednesday, we take a look at a new device that is out on the market available for purchase for you, if you want one. And today, we are taking a look at the Omir Wasp Nano RTA. Now, as you're aware, Amir made the Wasp Nano RTA. I didn't have one, so I've never used one before until I purchased this one. The build deck is exactly the same as the RTA, which a lot of successful RTAs are starting to do that now, moving into the RTA game and allowing you to put a tank and everything on it. And I think it's a really, really good move. So I didn't have any impressions of the RTA before I got this one for a review. The RTA comes in, here is stainless. I purchased this for the purpose of the review. They also offer gold, rainbow, and black. So 4 different versions. I think this one's the sexiest. The clear top and everything on it to me just looked the best. And that's why I went with this one. So without further ado, you guys know how I do. I'm going to take you down to the mat here. I'm going to show you what's in the box, and then we'll come back up. I'm going to wick it. Don't worry. I'm going to wick it, bring it back up, vape it, and we'll talk about it. So let's head down. Let's take it down. Take it downtown. Chinatown. That's where we're going right now. All right, guys, here we go. Sorry for the camera shake. Let me focus that in real quick. Here it is, the Wasp Nano RTA. Here's the box you're going to receive the device in. There we go. All right, I have to manually focus, so if you see it shaking, that is why. Here's some information to contact Omir, some information, their location and things of that nature, more logos and websites. Open it up here by just pushing this part out of it. Let's see if I can get... I have the most clumsy fingers of all time. And here is the actual box that it comes in. Sticks with that Wasp RTA logo they had for the RTA Omir there on top. Kit includes a Wasp Nano, spare kit, organic cotton, and glass. There's some information on the back. No person under 18 should vape or smoke. And their contact information. So what comes in the box? Pretty standard box. You're going to get a extra glass. You're going to get the RTA or RTA, which would be right here. You're also going to get an instruction manual. You're going to get some spare O-rings and deck screws right there. A 3-prong driver and some organic cotton. You're also going to get one Pharaoh-style fuse Clapton for the RTA. During the review period of this device, I started vaping it about, I would say, Thursday of last week. I used the coil that came with the kit, and I've never done that before. But the reason I did it was because I wanted to get as close of a user experience as I possibly could. So I went ahead and went with the coil out of the kit, and I'll tell you how I kind of dialed it in for my own vaping experience. So here you go. Here is the actual tank. It is 23 millimeters wide at the base here and 35 millimeters tall. So it is a Nano RTA. Take a nice look at it around here. Stainless steel 304 construction. One great thing about this RTA, before I take it apart, it is only 4 parts. So the first part is your drip tip. Now the drip tip is wide bore at the top down to a 510 inside. So let's take a look at this. It is acrylic, and you'll see here that, let me see if I can focus that in. There we go, that's a lot better. You'll see there, that screws into a metal part, which is not optimal. I mean, that is a good way to cross-thread it and mess up the drip tip. It also does not, there's no other drip tip you can use with it but this one, which is kind of a bummer if you do have a drip tip that you use. They don't give you an extra one in the box either. So if you do have a drip tip that you use, you're not going to be able to use it with this device. I will say for my vaping style with these big ass lips I got, this was a great drip tip. It really was, because it protects you from the metal and everything, because it comes out like a little top hat here. And I really did enjoy the drip tip. I thought it was perfect. So here's nice big fill ports here. So it is top fill. Decent machining. When I got it, I took it apart and looked at it. It was super clean. I really, really do like the look of this. I just think it looks really sharp. Not a whole lot on it to draw your attention away from it. Just bare bones, right down to business. So, top fill, 2 big juice ports for you. The second part of this is going to be the top and the barrel. So take a look at this. Inside there, you'll see your threading, which screws right down onto the deck. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Again, came super clean. Got your little Wasp Nano emblem here. Nice O-ring here is nice and tight. I had no leaking or anything at all with this. When I say no leaking, I mean no leaking at all. Typically when and I'll show you, when I wick an RTA, I close the air ports, and then after I've juiced it and wicked and everything, I open them back up to get that suction back into the chamber. And one time I did forget, and there was still no leaking at all. So it is airtight. Third part is your glass. Not much to say. Nice, thick piece of glass. You do have a spare one if you break this one. No bubble tank came with it, which is kind of a bummer. But, I mean, it doesn't really make or break it for me. Here is the bottom of the RTA. Wasp Nano Omer, their contact information. Insulated 510 pin. Obviously, you're not going to put this on a mech. And here is the deck. So, you know what? Let me leave it off of here. So, it is Pharaoh style install. Single coil, obviously. Dial that in just a little bit more. I'm going to get this. Let's see, is that dialed in? There we go. That's better. So, raised deck here. Here is your actual wicking ports right there. Nice and big. They could be a little bit bigger. I didn't have a problem wicking it at all. It's very easy to wick, actually, but it could have been, the wicking ports could have been a little bit bigger. There's the area wick hangs down to the deck. Not a whole lot of wick needed for this, and I'll show you guys how I wicked it. Deck screws are tiny, flatheads. Not really impressed with that. They could have been a little bit bigger. They're a little difficult to manage, and God forbid one of those screws falls out, you'll never find it. Or at least I would never find it. It is bottom airflow, and the airflow actually comes up through your deck here directly onto the coil. And I'll show you when I actually install the coil, there's not much room. So a 3mm coil will fit in this RTA. Quite frankly, here's the dilemma with it. So it is a nano, so they didn't want to make the RTA that big. But a 3mm coil, and you'll see it when I install it, it fits in there very, very snug. And what I feel like it does with a 3mm coil is it kind of smothers that airflow. So I think if they would have made it a 24mm RTA and opened this up by maybe a 0.5mm on each side, it would have been much more successful with a 3mm. So I would suggest if you're going to buy one, I would suggest you put a 2.5mm coil in it. 3 air ports here. You got 2 by 12mm all the way around the RTA. And you do have airflow control. Clockwise closes it and opens it back up. One thing I noticed with the airflow control, at first, I tried to pull it down a little bit because I was told it was a mouth-to-lung RTA. It's not a mouth-to-lung RTA. No way you could vape this mouth to lung. It is a direct lung RTA, 100%. So once I kind of realized that, I opened it back up and I vaped it with all 3 air ports open. All right, let's put a coil. Now the coil I'm going to use is the same coil I've had in it before. And I'm going to just put it back in. It's already been burned in for those of you who are saying, Scott, make sure you burn it in. No, guys, it's already burned in, so no need to do that. So I'm going to bring you guys up just a little bit here, give myself a little bit more room to work. Focus that in. Oh, come on. There we go. That looks pretty good. I'll bring you back down once I get this coil in here. All right, so Pharaoh style install, super easy. Just take it here, put it in right there. Even without my leads, I should be able to get it in here pretty easy. And push. Oh, did that screw back down? It did. Okay, let me unscrew it. One of my screws, I had opened it, but it must have screwed down somehow. So let's open this back up. And this one screwed down too. So let's open this one back up. That's kind of odd. I had to actually open these before I closed it, and they screwed back in there. So that's kind of weird. I don't know if they fell or what happened. Huh, that's odd. All right, so let's put this back. It must be the ghost. I do have a ghost down here, so maybe the ghost. All right, put this back in here. And let's move it just like that. So let me get it in there the way I want it. That's perfect, just like that. So let me hold it there. I'm gonna screw down this first lead. I know it's a terrible angle. I can't wait till I get my new camera and everything set up. It'll be a lot easier to see what I'm doing because I'm gonna go at a different angle instead of from the top. So I know when I do this, you guys can't see anything, but basically I'm just screwing screws. So if you've never seen anyone screw a screw before, let me know and I will send you a video of people screwing screws. Really not that tough though, believe it or not. So let's get this one in here like this. I'm gonna move it just a little bit this way. Now, I want to show you what I'm talking about with 3mm coil. And again, these screws are so small, it is kind of pain in the dick. It really, really is. And you just have to get it, mess with it until you get it. All right, so we got that one in there good. Let me check this one. Could have been a little bit bigger screws. And again, if they would have opened the deck up a little bit more, it would have gave them the room to do it. Now, I put my coil just a touch higher than the top post there. I'm trying to get it just a little bit further away from that airflow to not smother it. But it's difficult. So there it is. So that is exactly, and here's what I'm talking about the 3mm coil. See how much room there's left in there? And to me, it feels like it does smother those airflow holes. That's just how it feels to me. All right, let's wick it up. Grab a cotton thread here. Slide it through. All right. Now, you're going to wick this very, very, very short. And there's a trick to it that I'll show you that I actually saw Mike Vapes do. So I'm going to do exactly what he did, and it makes a lot of sense. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thin this out as much as I can because you really don't need that much wick. So let's just thin this out. Thin this side out. All right, and I want it to go down just to the deck there. So we're going to do this side first. I'm going to cut this a little shorter. Clean it up just a little bit. All right, let's see how that looks. Oh, it's a little bit long, so let's just pull it back just a touch. All right, and so now let's do the other side, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to juice it, and then I'm going to actually put it into the juice port here, or the wicking port. So there we go. That looks pretty good. Perfect. All right, that looks good. So what you have to do is you have to get this cotton down into that groove right there. So in order to do that, I'm going to juice it and then put it down in there where I can kind of mold it into that spot. So let's put a little bit of my cat's whiskers on it. All right, grab my tweezers here, kind of comb that in a little bit, and put it right into the juice hole here, juice port. There we go. You don't want it at all in the threads. And that may be just a touch too long. So what I'm going to do is pull it out. And again, I'm just going to cut the bottom of it here because I do not want extra wick. So cut that off. And I'm pretty anal. I think anybody who uses RTAs, you got to be kind of anal about it a little bit because you don't want it to not wick correctly. There we go. That's really nice. That's exactly how I want it. All right. Perfect. Go to this side here, do the exact same thing. We're just going to comb that liquid in there. just like that. Kind of spread it out at the bottom here. Make sure it's not too long. Looks good. I'm going to give it just a little bit extra juice. Now let's close her back up. Put this back on. Fits nice and snug on there. Screw the cat back on. Only 4 pieces, guys. Pretty freaking awesome. Let's get this back on here. Is it getting into the... Did I cross-thread it? Let's get that back in. This one side's really good. The other one isn't so much. Let's get it back in there just a bit more. Okay. There we go. This one may be too long, but we'll just give it a shot anyway. All right. All right, let's try it again. Back on here. What is it? Oh, I know what it is. I didn't. Okay. So let me get my clippers. I didn't get it completely flush because I didn't cut it because I had already used this coil. But what I did was I cut the one end a little. I moved it over a little bit, and this end's kind of sticking out, and that's what's keeping it from closing. So let's just cut this end off here. Make sure that feels good. Yep, those are good. All right, now let's try it again. There we go. As easy as that. I made it much, much, much more difficult than it actually needed to be. It is super easy to install and wick, guys. So close your airflow off. We're gonna fill it up. There we go. Put our drip tip back on. Careful when you're putting the drip tip back on it. Again, that acrylic is going into metal, so it can kind of be a pain in the butt. I'm going to leave it closed, clean it up just a bit, take it off here, and we'll put it onto my mod. All right. So here we go. This comes out to a point... I think it's 0.2 build. 0.21 is that single coil that comes with it. I'm assuming it's nichrome, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's go ahead and open it all the way up. See what it's reading out to. 0.18. 0.18. All right, let's bring it back up top. And we will talk about it. So, I'm going to get all this stuff out of the way first. Now, I'm going to take a couple pulls off of it. And I'll describe the type of vape that I'm getting with it. So I got it completely open. I'm going to drop it. I had it at 150 because I had an RTA on here. I'm going to drop it down to about 65 watts. So let's go ahead and take a pull. Okay, the vape experience that I'm getting is as close to an RDA as you can possibly get, but not being an RDA. The only difference is with an RTA, you're not going to get that wet, a little bit of spit back that you typically do with an RDA. That's the only downside, but that's not the fault of the RTA. My experience of using this during the week, my experience of using this during the week is that it wicks fantastic. If you get it, nice short, comb it out, put it into the little juice ports, let it sit for a little bit. It's not even fully wicked yet. Once it gets fully wicked, it vapes absolutely fantastic. I had 0 dry hits with this thing. Absolutely. The look of it, I actually like. I think it looks very nice. 23 millimeters, nice and small, only 35 millimeters tall. Not a whole lot on it to draw your attention to it. Really just looks like a really, really nice small RTA. So let's start with the cons of this RTA. Deck size. And I mentioned that when I was down low, is that the deck could have been a little bit bigger. I think adding maybe a 0.5 millimeter on either side, another millimeter, making it a 24 millimeter would have really helped because it really would have been able to get the 3 millimeter coil in there. This is a 2.5 millimeter coil RTA. Hands down. That's what it is. That's what it would vape the best at. The drip tip, that you can't interchange it. That's a negative. I mean, I like the drip tip, but you may not. You can't change it. That's the only drip tip you're going to get. Also, that it's acrylic going into metal, it can cross thread. And if it does cross thread, then you're out of, they don't give you an extra one. So you're going to have to put it to the side unless you can find something else that would fit it, but I don't know what would. Wick ports could be a little bigger. That is another thing, and that also goes with the deck screws and the deck being just a little bit bigger. They went. The problem with that is they went with the nano spec, so they're calling it the Wasp Nano. If it was just the Wasp RTA, and they could have made it 24 or 25 millimeter, then maybe it would have been a little bit different. But they went with the nano name and the nano style, so they made everything a little bit smaller, and I think it does affect the deck and the juice ports. Could have added a bubble glass. I think that's the biggest thing. It's a 2 millimeter capacity RTA. There's no bubble glass that comes with it. That's what you're stuck with. 2 millimeters isn't that bad to me. Milliliters, that isn't too bad to me. I don't mind it. It wasn't really that big, but a lot of people vape a lot more than that, and you're going to constantly have to be filling it. Although it is easy to fill, and it wicks really, really quickly. Pros of this. Flavor on it is fantastic. The flavor on it's fantastic. Like I said, it's as close to an RTA as you're going to get with an RTA. It really is. I put this up against a lot of high-end RTAs right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. It is just as good flavor-wise as a lot of high-end RTAs. The other thing I really, really like about it, another huge pro for me, is how easy it is. There's only 4 parts, including the glass. You have the drip tip, you have the chamber, or the barrel, you have the glass, and you have the base, the deck. 4 parts. That's it. It's so easy to use. It is really intended, not only is it intended, I think, for a hobby vapist or somebody who just likes RTAs, but it's also intended for somebody who's never used one. I think this is the market I see it really going towards. If you've never used an RTA and you want to try, you want a deck that's easy to install and easy to use and easy to wick, easy to fill, easy to vape, there's not much thinking you have to do with this RTA at all. This is it. This is the one you can really get, and the biggest pro. And this is something I always talk about. What is the value, price versus value of the RTA? And it's $19.99. It's $19.99. Yeah. At that price, it is a no-brainer. It is absolutely a no-brainer. At that price, you can be a good friend, because if you don't like it, you can give it to somebody else and not only be out $20. I mean, it is, for $19.99, this is an RTA that I literally think if you like RTAs or you just want to try one, you really should get this one. If you've been waiting to try an RTA, if you've been waiting for that moment to get one, this is it. Pull the trigger and pay $20 for this. And again, if you don't like it, be a good friend. Give it to one of your friends and be like, hey, I don't really